meeting of West Windsor Township Council for September 18th, 2017. Gay, have we been adequately noticed?
Yes, we were adequately noticed on January 6, 2017, to the Trenton Times and the Princeton Packet.
Okay, would you join us for the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, usually when we have an item where we expect a lot of people, we put it towards the front of the agenda. And a few weeks ago, there was a discussion at the planning board of a proposed ordinance which attracted 150 people. So I put it under topic for priority consideration, and I don't see any of those people. Nevertheless, we will follow the agenda, and we will discuss a proposed ordinance that's intended to maintain the character of the Bear Creek neighborhoods by controlling the number of bedrooms in new development there. Now, and what is this?
This Aaron's paint, Mr.
Okay.
Going to discuss.
Now, I have some things that I want to say about this, and
Before you get there,
and
I'm Gay to do the statement of adequate notice.
I thought she had.
What happened?
Gay did do the statement of adequate notice, and so we are proceeding. It comes before the flag salute. So, now, in case some of the people here are unfamiliar with the ordinance in front of us, it's very simple. It talks about the planned residential retirement community and says no dwelling unit shall have more than 2 bedrooms. A bedroom shall be interpreted to mean any room other than one intended and used exclusively as a kitchen, living room, dining room, or bathroom. And this was brought up at the planning board in response to a development which has now withdrawn its applications. Now, there are other ways of approaching, controlling the number of bedrooms in a development, the size of units in the development, but this is the simplest. And what council has before us is options. We can introduce the ordinance and send it to the planning board. At that point, the planning board can study it, and they can either adopt it, tweak it, replace it, or reject it. Or we can reject it up front and decide tonight not to introduce. So what I'd like to do is have members of council make comments preliminarily, and then have members of the public who wish to speak on this issue come up and speak on it, and then council will decide how to proceed. So let's start here. Hemant, any comment you have before we hear the public?
Before I make comment, I have a question. You said only 2 options. There are 3 options, right? We can certainly send it to planning board for further study. We don't have only 2 options, either to introduce it or to reject it. We can always take a broader approach and send it to study and
Actually, Sam Surtees, who is the manager of land use, told me that the planning board will not consider it unless we introduce it. However, of course, we can say, take a look at this development next spring in the master plan review process and see if there needs to be some revision to make the unbuilt portion, which was originally supposed to be continuing care, more economically viable after 20 years of not developing. So we can tell them that, but we can't not introduce and have them discuss it this month.
Okay. Then I can go.
And by the way, under the statute, that is the proper procedure, is to have something introduced, we send it to the planning board, they have 45 days to advise the council as to what exactly they are for or against, or, what their position is on it, and then the council can take action after that.
Okay. So, something like that, I was at the planning board meeting. I served on the zoning board. Planning board meetings are more exciting, I can tell you that. So I was at the planning board meeting and I heard the whole discussion, and I don't like to do, there are too many balls the council and the township has in the air. We are still waiting for the judge's decision, we are still waiting for a few other things to happen. So I don't necessarily like the idea of doing something for a very specific purpose. I would like to take a much broader view as to, okay, how does it have a long-term effect on the township in various capacities, and how it has affects other neighborhoods, how it affects our other obligations. And I would like to hear from public, but I don't think, I wish we could have just sent it to them to study, to answer those 3 questions. But if we can, then the next best choice I would like to make is to let them, since the master plan review is coming up next year anyway, and they are obligated to look at everything within that process, I would prefer to request them to look at it as one aspect of the master plan review rather than just looking at this in isolation.
Thank you. Jyotika?
Well, from the limited information that I was exposed to regarding this issue, there are arguments in favor of as well as against this ordinance. So, I think it's difficult to point your finger either way. I'm going to wait till I hear, the opinions of all the different stakeholders involved, and then I might have an opinion on it.
Linda?
Yeah, I would, I was also at the planning board meeting, and this issue, there was discussion, the applicant had, or developer had withdrawn the application, and so the discussion did continue on about this issue. I still have questions, it's just, we're just talking about, just limiting it to 2 bedrooms. However, what about, when I look at the wording of this draft ordinance, what about an office room? Are we saying that we would build senior housing without an office room? I think a lot of people need an extra room to put, set up their computer or their home business or whatever. This doesn't mention anything about an office room. There was a big issue about the basement, because there are a couple of finished-off rooms. It was an option, the basement. A couple of rooms finished off. I think there was like a bar area and a full bath, whether it's shower or tub downstairs. I think that scared a lot of people because it looked like an apartment down there, and that would draw maybe extra people living in someone's house. So the question about whether you should have a basement or not, it's an option, but that seemed to be, I guess, drawing a lot of criticism about having a higher number of people living in a unit. I don't know. I also would like to know, how do we handle traffic? We wasn't really talking to an engineer or a planner. We don't have anybody here tonight, whether it's land use, our township planner, to really kind of get into a discussion about this. I'm sure Eric has given us some information, official real estate information. And I think that's the kind of discussion we need to sort of massage this issue and see where we're going and what we want to do. But one of the big issues, of course, was traffic. And how would you deal with the traffic jams or, that kind of concern from the front of the village grant where people, go in and out, and from directly across from the area where the hamlet is, and the other side, and that's where the development's going to occur. So are there any suggestions regarding traffic? And of course, right down the road, Village Road, you get into Hankins, there's two new developments, one very large, 55 and older there too, and the area is just expanding. It's not just our town, it's all over the place. So I think we'd like to hear more discussion on this, and this is really officially the first night that it's on an agenda to actually discuss this type of thing. So anyway, that's my initial comments.
So just refocusing back on the ordinance language, Mike, I asked a couple of questions in an email, so I'm going to ask them now. One is, does it have to be a blanket rule, only 2 bedrooms, nothing else? Or can we build into our planning and zoning structure percentages, this many of different housing types, and with the idea that...
Want to stop right, you want me to answer each one separately or all together?
We could do them separately, that's fine.
With regard to percentages, yes, you are allowed to do that kind of thing. From a legal standpoint, I would rather have a planner weigh in on the impact that
Exactly.
percentages would have. We have, our council president is a planner, but, it's something that, if that is a direction you want to go to, I think it should be looked at a little bit closer, maybe part of a master plan review. So you
I mean,
can...
some of, I think what I'm feeling from everyone up
Yeah.
here,
But
at
I
least-
do have to tell you, I have some other towns where they have that,
right,
and it's a nightmare. It causes a lot of different problems.
from a planning perspective?
Yeah, and then you end
mean-
up with a bunch of applications in front of the zoning board. Because you may, remember, in New Jersey, our demographics are changing very quickly in who wants to live where and when. I mean, people do not want to live out in Hunterdon County anymore on a 5-acre lot, if there's no sewer and water especially. They want to live, closer to where...
Well, and it's
you
that
can walk.
changing demographic that has me a little bit concerned,
Sure,
right? Because we
sure.
hear more about children living with their elderly parents
Exactly.
for several reasons, so I'm not
A
entirely...
family going through divorce, and, the father comes home to live with his parents, and maybe he has some kids with him, and
Right.
society is changing very rapidly, and
from the elder care perspective,
yeah.
too, is it may not even be relatives, it may be a caregiver.
absolutely.
You
yeah.
may need some space. So I'm just wondering, I feel like I don't have enough information to make these decisions. The other question I'd had...
Well, and again, it's all about, and, my better half is a planner, so I have to be careful what I say, but it's all about, weighing what you want to do now as to what you want to see down the line.
Right.
If you're worried about a development, and I know our council president has laid this out very well, if you want to affect how a development is going to be built now, then yes, you may want to look at it now. But if you're worried about how things may develop down the line, then it may need a longer look.
Okay, and then I had raised the issue of 194.1, and so I'm just wondering, because I went back and looked at the language, and it doesn't seem to indicate to me to only relate to one particular development that's already been built out and that can never be used again.
Right. But it would impact a lot of my understanding is, and again, I don't have it in front of me and I'm not a planner, but it would impact a lot of properties, causing them to become
But they're only in the
non-conforming.
PRRC, and wouldn't any ordinance be forward-looking as opposed to affecting grandfathered properties?
But it still properties would be grandfathered, but say, a house had to be demolished for some reason or burned down, and somebody wanted to make it just a little bit different.
Are you able to grandfather a development designed under 194.1?
No, you would create non-conforming lots, and for most of the time, it wouldn't affect it, but there are properties that could be affected if the house is demolished or it's burned down or anything like that, and they want to make it a little bit different.
So doesn't 194 also apply to the village grant?
It does.
So if we change 194, is it making
I'm sorry, no,
properties?
I apologize. 194.1, I believe, does,
No,
194.2
194, yes, it would apply
Right.
to the
Okay.
village grant, but not the elements.
That's
I'm sorry, that's fine.
194-1
Yeah.
applies, is a separate ordinance that's very similar.
So if we're
applies to
amending
the
194, are we then creating nonconformities in the village grant?
we would, yes.
So why are we okay with that, but not amending 194.1?
I think because, and again, this is me talking to Sam Surtees, who's far more expert in this, and so is our council president, it wouldn't have the same, the impact would not be quite as large there as it would with .1. You wouldn't have as many properties being non-conforming.
I thought, okay. So I mean,
Again,
I think what would be helpful, at
Yeah,
least to me,
we
is
all-
to
we all
get a
need-
planner.
Yeah, we all need more information. I
Yeah.
am an attorney, and I've always learned to rely upon the planners. Any attorney who tries to turn himself into, or he or she or herself into a planner runs the risk of becoming their own witness, so.
Well, here's the
I'm sorry.
situation that we have.
Okay.
We have the option of sending this to the planning board, at which point there will be planning analyses that will deal with the very issues that we have heard from Aisha and Linda. And those issues should be dealt with before any ordinance, whether this one or a different one on the same subject, is adopted.
Well, can I ask you a procedural
So-
question?
That's the procedure. I have been told by Sam Surtees that the planning board will not make these inquiries, will not have these discussions unless we introduce something.
But can't Sam be directed to make this analysis without the planning board? I mean, Sam works for the administration, no?
I have been told that that is not the procedure that the administration is familiar with, and that is not what will happen.
But Sam's
So
the
if
expert
we
on the
want-
issue.
So if we want to pursue this, we should follow the procedure that we've been told about.
And while Mr.
I have a lot of concerns with this that I will express after we hear from the public, because I want to hear what they have to say about the proposed ordinance. I was at that planning board meeting, and what was discussed was, let's not permit more than 2 bedrooms in the villages at Bear Creek, which covers the Village Grand, the Hamlet, and the only partially built was once called, I think, the Esplanade. I don't know what it's called now. And I have been thinking about this since the planning board meeting, and I think the best way to go about this would be at the master plan reexamination. And I think that there are other methods of protecting the town from a resurgence of the particular development that so many people had problems with. The Affordable Housing Committee was discussing it and said half the affordable units are walk-ups. Now, one of the important aspects of the senior housing when it first came in that sold it to the planning board and the township council, the mayor and I were both on the township council at the time, was you don't have to walk upstairs to get to your bedroom. But they're proposing half the affordable units as walk-ups where you'd have to walk up to get to your everything. The Affordable Housing Committee was thinking of asking Sam if during the master plan reexamination process, we could have an ordinance that said, no, you can't do that with senior for-sale housing. You either need an elevator or a ground floor unit. So there are lots of ways of dealing with this. And this is the plainest, plain vanilla ordinance, comes from the borough of Hawthorne. And if we want the planning board to deal with it now, we should introduce it. If we want the planning board to deal with it during the master plan reexamination process, we should send them a memo. So let's listen to the people in the audience who have something to say about this subject. I see Eric Payne right there. Please, Eric, will you come and speak first?
All right, sure. I'm Eric Payne, 237 Washington Road. I was at the planning board meeting as well. I'm a member of the planning board. I was at the affordable housing meeting where we discussed it. I'm also a real estate agent, but honestly, I'm talking today as a citizen. My parents live in Village Grand, and I was, at the meeting, it became a big rah-rah session. A lot of emotion, and, people weren't necessarily thinking, with anything more than emotion. And the reason this came up was because Monroe Township just passed this ordinance. And I don't know about you guys, but I sell a lot of houses in Monroe. I sell a lot of 55-plus houses in Monroe. Nothing against Monroe. For a lot of people, that's a great lifestyle for them and whatnot, but it's not necessarily the elements. It's not necessarily Village Grand. We have very nice 55-plus developments here. And I give you two reports. One included 2-bedroom units, and the other one includes 3-bedroom units. And you'll see that the trend went from Village Grand to 2- and 3-bedroom units to the majority, and I didn't eliminate any 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom units in the elements, but the majority of the units in the elements are 3-bedroom, and you can tell where they are based on the last page is the map. So the trend for 55-plus housing is going towards larger homes, very, very similar to the homes that are moving out, maybe 500 square feet less, but not necessarily. In my parents' case, as a matter of fact, they actually upgraded the size of their home. They went into a larger home because the home that they did downsize to originally wasn't big enough for them. Because when my brother, my sister, and I, we all moved out, they moved out of the big house that had the basement, the 5 bedrooms and whatnot, and the 1,500 square foot home without a basement they moved into just wasn't big enough. They had to build a shed on, and they had to do all these other items, just to be able to live in that 1,500 square foot home. I sold them a house, or they found it for sale by owner, a 2,200 square foot house right next to Linda's mom. It's great, it's much larger, but a lot of these people moving into these units need a basement because their kids recently moved out and they don't take their stuff. Of course, we all know that happens. And the mother and the father both work now. And a lot of them in the 55-plus community still work. And the trend is getting younger and younger. 10, 15 years ago, people, said, oh, get away from me, 55-plus community. But now, they're having a great time in the 55-plus communities. My parents are having the best time of their lives that they've had in 15 years because of the amenities, because of the size of their home, because the look. They're not, glorified mobile homes. The 2-bedroom little units that they used to be 10, 20 years ago. And that's what you'll find in Monroe. So we don't want to follow suit with Monroe. I can tell you that right now. If you look at the elements, you can ask the mayor, with his house over there. It's absolutely beautiful. The whole entire community is absolutely wonderful. And every afternoon you can see people, hanging out by the pool, having drinks, whatever, and they're all roughly, you had 30 minutes, so I'll take a couple extra. I don't remember what I was saying. But you have people enjoying the lives and the lifestyle. What's that?
Drinks by the pool.
Exactly, drinks by the pool, and they're getting much younger. So the thing that worries me with an ordinance such as this is that we're going to scare away developers that want to develop something like the elements. That's the type of home we should be attracting to West Windsor. Restrict the ages and get more, restrict on the ridiculous 600 square foot, clubhouse that they have proposed in this. But don't restrict the size. Don't restrict the basement. This is what these people want. It's what they need. And as you can see, as the sales show, they're selling for $650,000. Wow. $650,000 3-bedroom in the elements with no impact on the schools and hardly any impact. I'm not an engineer or anything, a traffic engineer or by any means, but hardly any impact on traffic. When you have a 200 unit and they don't have regular schedules. If they're still working, of course they do, but once they retire, they probably hardly go out, if maybe 3 times a week, 4 times a week. So, anyway, take a broad picture. Don't, take one rah-rah comment from the planning board meeting where, somebody said they wanted to be more like Monroe, and take a very comprehensive look at it and see what the trends are and the way it's moving and what we should really do. I don't even think this should be, if it were up to me, I would say just get rid of it altogether, because we don't have a problem. The only reason this even came up was because Monroe passed it. We don't have an issue in Village Grand or the Elements of extra people living in the basements, extra people living in the office. And as you said, you know, if you pass this ordinance, I would guarantee half the people, at least half of the houses I've been in or sold in Village Grand have converted the office into some type of a third bedroom. You know, so a lot of people would be immediately in violation. You know, and I don't even know how it would affect the already built 3-bedroom units, you know, so obviously that would have to be out. But anyway, so hope you all take into consideration what I said. Again, it has nothing to do with being a real estate agent and trying to sell bigger houses. Absolutely nothing to do with that. You know, it's just practical, logical thought. So,
You just want to enjoy more planning board meetings.
I love it, yeah?
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
John.
Okay, thank you. John Church, 11 Princeton Place. I appreciated Eric's comments. I thought they were very good, and I'm not in real estate. I don't live in Village Grand. I don't live anywhere near there. So do I have a dog in this hunt? No, I don't. So I hope I can speak objectively here. First of all, being on the zoning board, first alternate, I do have occasion to read the zoning book, the land use ordinances all the time. So I'm sort of familiar with these ordinances. This one, although I haven't seen the text of it, strikes me as somewhat ad hoc. In other words, directed towards one specific thing, which I'm not sure you really want to do with this kind of thing. The other thing is, I don't see how you could really introduce this tonight because it hasn't been publicly noticed. We would want to see it.
It's not up for introduction.
Oh, I thought you said it was.
We can decide to introduce it, it would be up for introduction next time.
Oh, okay, so next time.
But it's up
No,
for
you-
discussion
I see.
tonight.
Okay,
and
then
a
I misunderstood.
decision.
I thought maybe you were considering introducing it, which you can't do this evening because the public hasn't seen it and it's not on the agenda. So if you want to put it on a future agenda, then the public can look at it. I have a very sketchy knowledge of it. All I know is roughly what you want to do. And so it does strike me as a rather strange ordinance, if I understand it correctly. And as I say, it is, as they say, ad hoc. It's directed towards one specific thing. And I like to see ordinances written in a more general nature that don't seem to be after one particular goal. That's just the impression I have from reading the ordinances in the book that I have, the land use book. So that's all I have to say about this. Now, I assume there'll be general public comment later.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Anyone else specifically on this? Okay.
Hello, Kristen Epstein, 11 Madison Drive. So I came here tonight with a different idea of what I was going to say, and now I have been convinced, Mr. Marathe, you convinced me that waiting for the master plan reevaluation is a good idea. I agree with that we should look at things comprehensively, not just parcel by parcel, as you suggested. And Ms. Miller, you seem to have suggested that there was no urgency at this point because there are other ways that we can limit the development at that particular location that was of concern.
Yes.
So as long as that is true, then I don't see any urgency, and we should look at it comprehensively across the entire township and what is right for the entire township, not just the one project. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Lerner.
Good evening, Marshall Lerner, 3 Sapphire Drive. I have to tell you that my wife and I have been thinking about moving into a smaller dwelling. We have a 5-bedroom house. It's much too big for us. Our kids are out. And if we were, and we actually have had a lot of very current discussions, and we would not consider buying into something with just 2 bedrooms. Doesn't meet our needs. We don't have any kids living with us. We don't have any family that is looking in the woodwork that's going to emerge after we become homeowners. We'd like them to come move and live with us now with the empty 4 bedrooms that we have. It's just a quality of life issue. So if you restrict the number of bedrooms, you're going to restrict the number of people who want to live in that development, or maybe in West Windsor. And to echo what Eric said a moment ago, the 55-plus communities help subsidize our schools. For the most part, they do not have kids in school. I mean, it's possible, but it's unlikely.
It's illegal.
No, it's illegal. That's why I was wondering why you say for most part, for all part.
The
So-
regulations say one person in the family,
So
one resident must be 55 or older, no resident may be 19 or younger.
this is the type of thing that behooves the township to encourage. And we already have a reputation as a very business-unfriendly community. And we built that reputation very diligently over the last dozen or more years. We really don't want to introduce more reasons for the business world to dislike us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Su Xingxie, living at Wilson Way South. This is the first time I'm here. I am not 55 yet, but, I actually am planning someday I probably want to move into a 55 and above community, because first when I just moved to A. Wilson Way, my neighbor was 60 plus, and they had been living in the big house for a long period of time. But then they have been hoping the children will come home more often, so they continue living in the big house. But eventually they realized they couldn't afford the labor work for the yard work anymore, so they move into the 55 and above, and they are very happy there. So I don't think, I think a lot of people, West Windsor residents, would love to continue living West Windsor without the burden of yard work and landscaping. So by making become a two-bedroom like apartment-like, it kind of eliminate the people to have the capability. Next thing I want to say is actually I'm young, but then actually I have a lot of senior care experience. My husband is a single child. Myself, my both brother passed away at young age, so I'm also, the only child at the house. When my parents living a two-bedroom apartment, we cannot just think about right now, right when they're active. Later on, they probably have to hire someone to come and help. So even an apartment in the basement, what for with that if they need someone to help, to be in the house to help? So we cannot only think about today. We have to think about more long-term for almost senior care. This is what my opinion is. And, I couldn't help to talk because although this is the first time here. That's okay. Thank you.
Doing good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, everyone. And I think that everyone has had cogent comments about this proposal. And I just want to remind council that we can send a memo to Sam Surtees saying, when the master plan review comes, take a look at why this particular part of the Bear Creek development has gone nowhere in 20 years, and see if there can't be a change in the zoning which would allow a more modern congregate care facility. If we had that in this place, I think that the people who live in the Village Grand, who were at the planning board meeting a few weeks ago, seems like a long time, would be happy, because it would not have the traffic they were afraid of, and it would solve a problem that shouldn't even exist. So that's my recommendation. Is there anyone here who would like to introduce this ordinance so it can go to the planning board in the short time at the next meeting?
I have a question.
Yes.
I guess a timing question, maybe, to Mike. So planning board, or the master plan review is to be completed by June of 2018?
Correct.
Right? So what happens if between now and June of 2018, the applicant returns?
They would have to comply with the zoning as it exists out there right now.
If you change the zoning after they make their application, it's called time of decision rule, and the zoning that was in place when they made their application would apply to the application.
I'd just like to point out that there is a provision in the PRRC, that's 200-194, that says that active adult units, like what's in the Village Grand, what's in the Hamlet, what was proposed in this development, count towards the overall density, while congregate care, assisted living units do not. And if they are going to abide by that provision in the ordinance, they would have to come in with congregate care or assisted living, or go to the zoning board, which I am sure would be very aware of the challenges faced by not complying with the current zoning.
I just have a comment. I don't want to introduce the ordinance, as I said right at the beginning. I mean, we are here today because of a very specific application that happened a few weeks ago, as you said. And the problem that the people here were facing was traffic. I mean, no one was saying 3 bedrooms are bad or 5 bedrooms are bad, traffic. This is not necessarily a solution to address that problem. I mean, there are various different ways of addressing that problem. And I have a general comment. I've been to the planning board meeting, I've been to the zoning board meeting, and people start saying whether, oh, how many office, and call it office or call it kitchen. I'm from India, I can sleep anywhere. I don't care whether you call it an office or call it whatever, I can sleep there. If I can put a bed there, I can sleep there. So the demographics in this town are changing. So whenever planning board, zoning board considers that, don't put limitation thinking that nobody will sleep there. Just assume that if there is space and people want to sleep, they will sleep there. But more important, I mean, I spoke to Toby Shore, who was leading the opposition at the meeting, and she understands the need to follow procedure. She understands the need to send it to the planning board and do it as a part of the overall master plan revision and not rush it through, which may get township in different kind of trouble. So I would strongly urge my colleagues to just set a memo, send whatever needs to be done to set an expectation that this particular issue will be looked at as in a comprehensive way when the master plan is reviewed, and it will be addressed at that time.
And I agree with you that it needs a more thoughtful discussion with professionals before us and before the planning board. Is it legal to limit the number of cars to a unit? We're talking about limiting the number of bedrooms. Can you limit the number of cars?
You can't limit the number of cars, you can limit the number of parking spaces, with the hope that that would limit the number of cars.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people park in their driveway or in their garage.
Who's going
I was just curious
to
about
stand there whole day counting how many cars come?
No, I just...
That's the whole problem with limiting what people do with the rooms, with how many cars they have. I don't want to set up this necessary policing.
I'm not suggesting that, I was just curious about that.
It's been done in
just curious.
places. It
Right.
has
Well,
been. And there are
has.
many people who believe that we need fewer cars so we can have less pollution, and they control the number of parking spaces. And you know what happens? People fight over parking spaces. So education is the way to control the number of cars. So have you made up your mind?
I'll go with my other council members, that I think that this issue needs to be looked at comprehensively and, in the master plan re-examination next year, rather than an ad hoc approach of, just specific ordinance.
Well, I think it's unanimous. We will send a nice memo to Sam suggesting that during the master plan re-examination, they look at why this has not developed for 20 years. And I also am glad that we're not looking at this to apply to anywhere else in the township, because I don't want to have a developer say, well, if you didn't have this ordinance, I'd build senior, but I have to build family units. Because I'd rather have large senior units with family members and cars, but no children, than large non-senior units with family members and cars and children for our schools. So thank you, everybody. Now, next on the agenda is public comment on other subjects.
Mr. Murray?
Good evening. Old Mayor Murray, 20 Laurie Lane, Junction.
I almost said that.
I have one subject for the night, and it's one word, Amazon. I happen to be on the faculty of Rider University, and we're doing a major research effort on, quote, the Amazon effect. And I'm here tonight to talk to you, the council, and you, the mayor, in terms of we've got a golden opportunity here in this town with some property that could be very attractive to somebody like Amazon. And I look here and I see state outlines legislative plan to lure Amazon. The state Senate has outlined a legislative plan to entice Amazon to choose New Jersey as the location to construct its $5 billion HQ2 facility. The New Jersey Partnership for Action, comprised of the State Economic Development Authority, the Business Action Center, and the Office of the Secretary for Higher Education, announced earlier this week it would work with any of the 21 counties in the state to submit a proposal to Amazon. We are in a perfect position for somebody like Amazon, positioned directly between New York and Philadelphia, extend that a little further, and Washington to Boston. We have a major university, the #1 university in the country. We have just the ideal situation for this, and my urgent plea for the mayor and for all of you is we can't do this kind of thing as West Windsor Township. We need some expert advice. We need to go to some organization that does this and has the expertise to work with us to do it. And I urge you, the council, and you, the mayor, to seek out those kinds of people that can help us. And we need to pay, and we probably need to pay significantly for that. But the stakes are high, the rewards are high, and I ask each of you to consider very seriously how we can approach this professionally and for the benefit of this town. It would be a significant landmark for West Windsor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Virginia Manzera? Yep.
He doesn't look like Virginia.
Good evening, Virginia Manzari, 28 Brookshire Drive. So Bob just stole a little bit of my thunder, but I was going to say that I think it is a great idea that we put forth a proposal for the Amazon project, and although I think it is probably a little bit of a long shot for us, I think it would be good practice for us to get into the habit of doing these kinds of proposals to try to entice businesses, large and small and in between, to come to West Windsor. It would go a long way to helping us to shake off this anti-business reputation that we've had for 15 or 20 years, and it also would help to alleviate some of the tax burden on residents and shift some of that tax burden to businesses. As Bob mentioned and Marshall mentioned before, the township is very difficult to work with. Just Yesterday, I was at the food truck festival, which was great, in the parking lot of the train station, and I noticed that the path that connects the two train station parking lots was finished, and the lights are installed and everything, and it's ready to go, but it was blocked off and it can't be used yet because they're waiting on permits from the township. They've been waiting for weeks. That's an internal project that they can't get permits for. It's all done. It's crazy for us to be anti-business with our own township and with the parking authority. It makes no sense to me. I was thinking that putting together some sort of a task force in the interim would be a great idea to try to move things forward and look at how can we change and overhaul the system. There are definitely consultants that you can engage, but I've been saying for a long time we really need to have a business development director who can help us to move forward and really look at every aspect of West Windsor and businesses that every time they have to touch West Windsor or interact with West Windsor, we need to look at those interactions and see how we can change those to make them more positive for those businesses. And with regard to this proposal for Amazon, or for any other businesses for that matter, I don't believe that we need to give away the farm, so to speak. There are a lot of inherent benefits to doing business in West Windsor. As Bob had said, highly proximity to New York and Philadelphia, and colleges and the universities that are close by. We also have a very highly educated workforce, and the overall beauty of the town. We've got a lot of things. We don't need to be giving away the farm to get people to come to this town to do business. We just have to get out of our own way. I know also that there are a lot of very bright people in West Windsor who would be happy to step up and volunteer. I actually have a business development background myself, and I would be happy to volunteer. I'm sure there are quite a few people who would be as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Lerner.
Marshall Lerner, 3 Sapphire Drive. Like the previous speakers who were quite eloquent, I'd like to offer my own thoughts about this great opportunity that we're all buzzing about, the East Coast Amazon headquarters. It's exactly the type of opportunity we had hoped for when we were organizing the protests against the American Cyanamide concept plan offered by the Howard Hughes Corporation. Virginia and I led that protest, just in case anybody knows. We were the ones that put together all of the literature that was distributed at the planning board meetings and at the boathouse and every other event that Howard Hughes offered. I think what's important to seize this particular opportunity is for a nonpartisan, non-political group to come together. Certainly not one which has too close an association with the administration. And I've heard earlier this week that the mayor was hoping to head up this type of an undertaking, and I would caution people against it, and I would point to the transit redevelopment project, which was arguably the largest and most controversial project of the mayor's career. It took years to pull off. It failed. It failed to attract any commercial interest of note after almost 10 years during its inception. Let's please be successful with this. This is a tremendous opportunity for the community. It's a tremendous opportunity for the county and for the state, and we need talented, capable folks leading the proposal. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Intel YZ Zhang, 3 Fenty Lane. I'm very happy to see we're all working together. Seems to be agreeing on the issues of Amazon. So I'm speaking not only for myself, but also with my friend Kamal Khanna, who's got a little bit of family situation. He couldn't join us. So we both feel pretty much agreeing with the previous speaker's statement. I think it's a great opportunity. Obviously, if you look at the bigger picture, there are other contenders in the race, not just in New Jersey, but also in other states. So we have to be careful in terms of planning this, and some of the advantage we have is, people pointed out the CEO of Amazon is a Princeton alumni, so it's right here. But other support from the state and county would be crucial, and I understand the mayor has great connections with them, and I understand he has been working diligently with them. So I hope the council will support the mayor, and the mayor and council will work together. And also, I agree, we probably should find some professionals to plan it carefully and submit the proposal, the RP, as professional as possible and give the best shot, even though the probability is hard to predict. Nobody has a crystal ball, but it's a really good chance we have here. So thank you.
Yeah, John Church, 11 Princeton Place. So this Amazon thing has just come down the pike. It's really interesting. And the one thing I like about doing something like this is that probably we wouldn't have to change the ROM1 zoning. I mean, it's research office manufacturing, so that would be a big help. It would save a lot of trouble. I do wonder, I mean, they say they want to bring in 50,000 employees, and I just heard the rumor that everyone on the planning board has just resigned. They don't want I'm just kidding. So, but 50,000 employees is quite a bunch, so we want to think about that. It would also be interesting to see what the Howard Hughes people would say about this. I mean, they own the land after all, so I think maybe they would want to weigh in on this. But otherwise, I mean, it's a really great idea to bring more business in. We do need more business. Whether it's this or something else, that's what we need. We need to take the load off our residential taxpayers. Now, just to shift gears a moment, I would like to ask the administration to press ahead with installing the new generator in the Fire and Emergency Services building. You need that anyway, whether you go with a solar microgrid or you don't. It's really badly needed for this winter. Right now, they don't have any backup power. And we would pay for it one way or another. If we did have the solar microgrid, that contractor is not going to pay for installing that generator. It becomes ours. It's within our building. So I really think it would not be a good idea to wait much longer, and then later on, if you felt it necessary, you could wire the generators together. But this is a serious need. Let's not minimize this. Winter is coming. The FEMS people do not have backup power, and they need that generator. So I would ask you please to move ahead with getting that going and get that project done so we can have at least that extra degree of resiliency this winter. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Kristen Epstein, 11 Madison Drive. I am also very excited about the prospect of Amazon coming to our town. However, I have in the past days heard a number of concerns from residents. With the 50,000 new employees over the next 7 to 15 years that they're predicting, there are concerns about traffic impacts to our housing, impacts to our schools, and things like that. Now, I believe West Windsor will be responsible in limiting the impacts to our township. However, we are within many other townships. We're surrounded by townships. So I believe it is important that the administration and the elected officials are people who can work with other people, that can have relationships at the county and the state and the surrounding communities to work together for a regional solution to handling 50,000 employees. So I just want to put that out there, that working together, having a broader outlook is very important for a project of this size. Now, I do believe that we should absolutely go forward with the application, because we want the chance to evaluate what the impacts might be and whether it would be net gain or net negative. So we do definitely want to go forward with this. I support the mayor in his efforts doing that. But one thing I noticed in the RFP, I looked at it very carefully yesterday, one of the criterion is the local elected officials are eager and willing to work with Amazon. So the mayor is not the only elected official in this room. There are others that should vote, make statements, get out there and show their eagerness as well, because we will have no chance if we don't meet all the all the criteria that is suggested by Amazon. So I would really implore you to be supportive of this idea, supportive of the mayor in his efforts to woo Amazon to our town. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, administration comments. Mayor?
Let me just give you a few. Three items I wanted to brief all of you. Number one, the day after Amazon sent out RFP, I start moving forward. Today, I already have a conference call with Howard Hughes, state and the county. And this morning, 9:30. This afternoon, 3 o'clock, I have another conference call with the same people with county and state, along with the SRI, sign-up property owners. They are all very much in favor of working with Township and moving forward. The state strategy is going to be for all of the qualified, eligible applicants to come together, and then West Windsor, working with Howard Hughes, they are going to give us all of the information, draft copy by Wednesday, and sign-up will give us all of the information by Tuesday. And of course, they have their own planning teams working on all of this along with us. And along with, again, county also got involved in state EDA. And actually, EDA is going to submit as a state applications for all of the qualified applicants. And in our case, we have two qualified spots. One is over 600 acres, Howard Hughes. And the day I called them, they were a little bit, hesitant. And then now they are coming along very favorably. And actually, I also want to point out a few things here. When Howard Hughes talk about their developments, I've been advising them, and I personally approached a few business, but again, apparently Howard Hughes didn't show very much interest, but this time they really show interest. And then SRI, they were also very enthusiastic. So we are going to be moving with these two projects. And the other thing is, of course, I have been in touch with the state, county, and even Princeton universities. And I can tell you, we will be very much qualified for that. I also want to point out a few things. My 16 years as your mayor, I brought in more than 6 international headquarters coming to West Windsor. NRG Energy headquarters. And you have Oscar, the most #1 depression medicine pharmaceutical companies, they have headquarters here. And since they couldn't get the whole new building over there, it was taken over sooner by BlackRock. So that's why they actually are expanding their facilities over Carnegie Center. And I just want to point out, all of these are very important variables, but in the meantime, we also definitely, through the whole process, we also lost sign-up and taken over by Stanford Research Institute. And again, for American Simon, because of their manufacturing operations, they couldn't really sustain. Therefore, they really closed their international operations. That's why after 3 changes of the ownership, Howard Hughes owns that. And yes, Howard Hughes is a little bit strange kind of operations coming from Texas. I think in Texas they don't have zoning requirements. So that's why we have to struggle how to work with them. I'm hoping we'll bring them along. But I can assure you we have done everything we could. And in terms of the transportation issues, Amazon already, as part of their RFP, they are going to contribute $45 million for the improvements of transportation. And many of you here, some of you probably know, I was the first one in the state to push for a regional bus rapid transit system feasibility studies. The state DOT paid over 100,000, actually they pay more than $100,000 to hire consultants to finish a feasibility studies, and that was completed about 2007. And when Kozan took over as a governor, he tried to implement the first pilot between Princeton and West Windsor, but got rejected by the Princeton residents. They organized to stop the whole thing. So again, with this $45 million, definitely there will be a lot of traffic improvements we can make for West Windsor. So hopefully, that's why Amazon, they are very much supportive of the mass transit systems, and that is something we can work out. And of course, $5 billion for building their office building, their complex, their compound, is a very big, attractive package. And not only that, in terms of how we do it and what we are going to benefit from this, again, keep that in mind. We are one of the few AAA communities in the whole state of New Jersey. And that is also very important accomplishment. And in terms of the educational level, we have postgraduate residents here, probably over almost 80%. That is one of the highest in the nation. So all of this will be a big process. And I also contact Princeton University the same day I contact both Howard Hughes and SRI. So we are going to be very important candidates from among all of the other applications, as far as I know. I don't want to get into too much of the details. But again, I'm hoping all of the council members sitting here can share this honor with me. Someday if we got it, I think they all deserve to get credits for it. And that is also the reasons. I know all of you are very pro-business, and I'm hoping that I have a resolution here to be distributed, and thank Allison, the council chair, for drafting this resolution. And I'm hoping there will be official resolution to support my, the whole process I initiated, and we are still working on it. And by next week, every meeting, I'm going to update what's going on, what we are doing, and what kind of responses we have been getting from the state and from county and from Amazon. I'm hoping at least within next couple months, I will expect that there will be a short list announced. But again, I just want you to know we waste no time doing all of this. And I'm very excited myself, because just like all of the other business headquarters coming to West Windsor, I've been very, very excited. And I also want you to know every business coming to West Windsor, usually I will do it, my secret survey, talking to them about how to deal with our inspection and construction inspection and so on and so forth. The general feeling is very good. And I also want to point out parking authorities, the reason they are not getting, they are not open, they are not getting permits is because their electric work is not done yet. They need to have that completed and contact Township. Definitely. I also want to mention that sidewalk, if I wasn't the one who got involved, we will never get that sidewalk approved by the state DEP. So I just want to mention that to all of you. First time parking authority applied for the passway got rejected by DEP, because many of you know train station area used to be environmentally sensitive areas. If it wasn't because we had this train station 1869, I would say we probably will not be able to build a lot in that area. But after they asked me to go to DEP with the consultants, and finally I was able to convince them to provide this option, and they got approval finally. So I just want you to know, I've been running around Trenton and different places. Some of the issues, including open space. Last year, we were the only town received $825,000 open space money from the state, out of the whole state. And I don't want to tell you how I get it, but again, as long as the taxpayers will benefit from it, I don't mind to make phone call. I don't mind to try extra miles to talk to people, congressmen, senators, or any one of them. And I just want you to know, I also notified the senators, assembly, for what we are doing here in West Windsor regarding Amazon. And I can assure you we are going to get a very strong support from different layers of the governmental agencies. I also wanted to mention, I know So many people are eager to find out when we are going to be able to start the Cranberry sidewalks. Yes. Finally, after going through a lot of litigations, legal fight, and then engineering survey and options for public discussions and so on and so forth, almost 4 years. I know first time the council 5-0 changed the priority to make Cranberry sidewalk as a priorities. The council chair, that was the only one and the first one we ever meet together with Mr. Brahmaha. And just B.A. Molina and I sat down with him. He was very seriously explaining to me, I wanted this project, Cranberry Road sidewalk, to be done in 8 months. I told him, I wish I could. I think that even God coming to help me, I still couldn't do it. And even you have all of the permits for me, I couldn't do it in 8 months because I understand what kind of governmental works we have to do, including the Section 1, 5 property owner refused to allow Township to have the access. So after going through the delegation and negotiation and compensations, finally we brought them along, and then the contractors got reviewed and finally selected last month. But again, we still need to go through all of the background search. So October 2nd, you are going to see the contract will be presented to the council, and hopefully if you sign it, then that will be started. And then the remaining sidewalk we have to work on all of the homeowners. I'm hoping the property owners in that area will help Township to knock the door and try to help to make sure people will come along. It's not an easy job. And sometimes we have to file litigation. Actually, out of the 5, we file 3 litigations. Am I correct, Mike? We file 3 litigations. And litigation is not always easy. You don't expect judge will make a decision if you file today, they will make decision tomorrow. No. Usually it takes a long time. And unfortunately, we have to pay, unfortunately, I have to pay more to Mike Herbert in order to do that. So all of these are the kind of things I'm hoping people understand the bureaucratic and governmental procedures, what we have to go through. And with this resolution, I'm hoping all of the council will together share this opportunity to make sure we have one of the best ratables that will be coming to West Windsor, because I'm very optimistic and very positive about this case. And with that, any one of you got a question, I will be happy to respond.
Well, I think that between what Ms. Nazari said and what the mayor said, it's clear that if we want Amazon, we should pass a resolution. The mayor called me this morning, and I came in, and Gay and I put this together. It's about as brief as it can be. Suppose I just read it, and then I will ask for a motion to add this resolution to the agenda so that we can pass it tonight, and so that the council's support that is necessary for this application will be present.
And this resolution will be included as part of the application package?
Yes.
As a procedural matter, do you want to finish the administration comment?
No,
and the
let's
council
do
members?
this now and move it forward, because I think we should, this is really important. Let's do one thing at a time.
Yeah, but you can't vote on it anyway now. You introduce it when it's your time to comment, which is the last comment on the agenda anyway.
Well, I thought that we could deal with the Amazon resolution right away, and I could read it and then ask for somebody to move to add it to the consent agenda.
Go ahead.
So I will read it. It's very short. Whereas Amazon Corporation is searching for a new location for their corporate headquarters, and whereas West Windsor Township is an ideal place for such corporate headquarters, and whereas Mayor Xing Fouché has been pursuing this opportunity and now requests the support of the Township Council to continue to work on this project, now therefore be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of West Windsor that they support the mayor in his endeavors with pursuing this opportunity for the township. So, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to put the item between number 8 and number 9. before the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Could we have a vote on that?
Barry?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Marache? Miller?
Yes. So
Thank you
this-
very much.
No, this is
Well,
just...
we haven't
this is
voted
just a-
yet, but-
First step, I have to thank all of you. Maybe I'm too much, but I think I didn't expect it will go so fast. You know,
Well-
I
No, we
thought
are
I would
always
be here
fast.
for a little bit before you move.
So would that be 2017 R125?
It's going to be 27 or 240.
240.
Yep.
Okay. So that will be added to the consent agenda. So, Xing, do you have more to say? Marlena, do you have things to say?
I do. I have several announcements. DPW is in Zone 3 this week, collecting yard waste and debris. On Saturday, September 23rd, 2017, the Human Relations Council will have its Peace Day celebration on Saturday. It will be held at the Senior Center at 271 Clarksville Road, West Windsor, New Jersey. The winners of the essay contest will receive their certificates, and the essays will be read as well. And this event is open to the public, and it was, the theme. Where's the theme here? I had the theme. Together for peace, respect, safety, and dignity for all. That was the topic for the students to write essays about.
And this is the annual event. We have been holding this for quite many years.
And then our Senior Resource Center is holding a Senior Resource Fair Monday, September 25th, 2017, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is a comprehensive gathering that the employees over at the Senior Resource Center have been working on. There'll be free health screenings, free samples, giveaways, fitness demonstrations, and more. All are welcome to attend. Refreshments will be served, and there's more information under current news under the website. Also, you can contact the Senior Resource Center for more information at 609-799-9068. Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company is sponsoring a community blood drive for its member, Bob Cooper, who is currently battling cancer. The American Red Cross Blood Drive will be Thursday, September 28th from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Princeton Junction Firehouse, 245 Clarksville Road. You can make an appointment online. I've done it. It's very easy to do so. And again, that's under current news on the Township website, and also it can be located at the Princeton Junction Fire Department website. All presenting donors will receive an email coupon for Sport Clips free haircut. As you well know, blood is in dire need, especially with the events, the natural disasters in Texas and in Florida. But most of all, this is for a volunteer who is really in need of blood donations. West Windsor Township Health Department vaccination clinics for 2017 have been scheduled. They'll be held at the West Windsor Senior Center, 271 Clarksville Road. There are several options this year, so it's important for you to consult with your personal physician to discuss which vaccine is recommended for you. There'll be two types of vaccines offered. There'll be a quadrivalent influenza vaccination offered. And then the Rite Aid Pharmacy Clinic will provide the high-dose influenza, pneumonia, or Prevnar vaccines as well. If you'd like to make appointments for the influenza vaccine that is offered based upon what is anticipated for the flu season, please pre-register at the Senior Center or Health Department. The Senior Center number is 609-799-9068, or Health Department at 609-936-8400. Those two vaccine clinics will be held Tuesday, October 3rd, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and Thursday, October 12th, 2017, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The clinics are open to all residents 55 years of age and older. Uninsured individuals will not be required to self-pay. In terms of the more potent vaccine, which has been requested by the seniors in previous years, Rite Aid Pharmacy Clinic will be providing those vaccines of high-dose influenza and the pneumonia vaccines, as I indicated. That's open to residents 65 years of age or older. Most insurances will cover age-appropriate shots. Rite Aid will pre-certify coverage. Individuals without full insurance coverage will be required to self-pay, and for that clinic, you must pre-register with Rite Aid at 609-799-4114. Press number 3 to speak with the pharmacy, and that pharmacy clinic at Rite Aid will be Thursday, October 5th, 2017, from 10 a.m. to noon. The Rite Aid Pharmacy Clinic is a new offering this year. Dumpster Day was an outstanding success. We had 653 vehicles pull into the DPW facility to drop off materials. Unfortunately, the shredding trucks, from what I understand, there were 2, were at capacity, and unfortunately, 100 people that wanted to have paper shredded had to be turned away. Our Public Works Department is in the process of scheduling an additional shredding-only event. The tentative date is October 14th from 8 to noon. There'll be more details. As plans get finalized, we will post that information on the website, and then I will make an announcement at the October 2nd.
Actually, I think West Windsor people probably are not cutting their use of papers. This is the records we ever have in West Windsor in terms of how many people come to use our shredding machines. And it was out of capacity, so we were only able to serve 630-some cars, and then over 100 cars got turned down. They have to come back again. So.
And finally, West Windsor is participating in the Street Smart New Jersey Pedestrian Safety Education Program, which is aimed at reducing pedestrian motor vehicle crashes in New Jersey. Our police department will be working with the Greater Mercer TMA to educate the public on motorist and pedestrian safety laws through the end of September. Motorists are reminded to stop for pedestrians and obey speed limits. Pedestrians are reminded to use crosswalks, wait for the walk sign, and heads up, phones down. Police officers will be working to address speeding and distracted driving and walking, which often contribute to crashes involving pedestrians. Also, the police department will be and has been monitoring or following school buses, looking for violators of motorists who violate the school bus passing law. When a school bus comes to a complete stop, traffic is to stop in both directions for the safety of the students. So our police department is monitoring that activity, and I believe that's an appropriate enforcement need that's necessary at this point in time. So please do your part and be street smart.
I just want to mention the day we had the kickoff, I was there 30 minutes with the police, and we have 4 police cars waiting. And as a matter of fact, in 20 minutes, we pick up 4 or 5 tickets right away, because people driving across the sidewalk pay no attention to the people waiting over the other side, and continue to speed up, went up to speed. So, the police car, they didn't even pay attention to, we have 4 police cars waiting there. So, that was a little bit additional income coming to, through the court. So, I just want to warn all of you, this is the month we are going to be doing a lot of promotion, and police is going to keep an eye on it, so make sure you follow the signs.
I also want to bring to council's attention, because council has made me aware, residents, especially in the Sherbrooke area, have been reporting to you, and the police chief has been reporting to me as well, their concern of the volume of traffic going through that area of West Windsor in light of the closing of the bridge, which is impacting traffic along Clarksville Road. And unfortunately, the traffic has to go somewhere, but Sherbrooke is getting the brunt of it. Our police officers are well aware of what's going on. The chief has been out in the morning observing what's happening on 571, especially with the left turn signal and motorists who basically want to beat the line of cars on the right-hand side of the road. So they're doing enforcement action to prevent people who want to basically get ahead of those that have been patiently waiting in the queue and then cutting over at the last minute. In addition to that, they are looking at the traffic light timing relative to the traffic that has to move through the intersection at Clarksville and Cranberry Road, where the temporary traffic signal is, as well as Millstone in the morning and probably evening rush hour. They have dozens of requests for enforcement and for people that are speeding, not only in the neighborhoods that I've mentioned, but throughout the town. So our police chief is aware of what's happening. He's out there, and traffic enforcement, the traffic enforcement division or unit of the police division is well aware of what's happening, and they are detailing their units accordingly. So just keep me informed, and any complaints, refer them to me, and we will definitely monitor the situation and do the best we can. It's an adjustment period, but it doesn't justify people speeding through neighborhoods and disobeying traffic laws. And most importantly, we want our motorists to be safe, our pedestrians to be safe, and our children to be safe.
Thank you. Council member comments. Let's start at this end of the table, because we started at that end of the table before.
So I attended the Food Truck Festival. Kudos, Parking Authority. You need to do this more often. It was, from all accounts, well attended. I was there probably around 2:30 in the afternoon, and had the chance to get reacquainted with a beer I used to drink in law school, so that was kind of fun. In observing, I was out when the mayor was out for the launch of this pedestrian safety program, which is a great thing. I've seen the signs all around town. It's an excellent program. I did see all of these people getting stopped. One of the rules that I learned was when you see those flashing stoplight, when someone pushes the crosswalk button, you need to wait till the pedestrian has cleared the entire walkway before you go. So in fact, the mayor was crossing the street a couple times. He'd get to the middle of the road and cars would start going. So while the lights are flashing, you need to let the pedestrian cross the entire walkway and then go. And that's actually a change in the law. It used to be just a yield, now it's a stop. So let's just be a little bit cognizant. I think these flashing lights are great. But one of the things I wanted to ask Ms. Schmidt and the mayor is if we can get, because 571 is a county road, and standing there just for the half hour that morning, the increase in traffic coming out of Sherbrooke on 571, coming from those neighborhoods, it's much more than it's ever been. And I think we need some help from the county, whether it's by way of a traffic light or something to help with, just move this traffic along.
We will follow with county about that. As long as you have any complaints, make sure either you can call BA, Ms. Smith, or myself. We will follow up with the county because county is in charge of the traffic light, particularly for county road.
I would ask council to, if you get complaints, please forward them to my attention, and I will forward them to the police chief as well as the traffic lieutenant.
Actually, the county traffic engineer is responsible for making that adjustments. So we will make sure the right person will get the message.
Thank you. And then just, as we're reading all about Amazon, I read that Tucson sent them a giant cactus. So we've got to think about what we're going to send them from West Windsor. But I am aware, apparently, that our first mascot in West Windsor was a llama. So maybe we can send them a llama.
Good. Thank you, Mayor, for all the work on this. I mean, this is one of the biggest things to ever happen to West Windsor, and what a great opportunity it is for us. Imagine high-paying jobs. We have only a 10-minute commute. I mean, so many people have these 10, 12-hour days. That would be a phenomenal opportunity. And our students, so many of them excel in different areas, but certainly science, technology, engineering, and math. So I think that that's another area where we're a fit. We have excellence in education here. Universities are nearby, and the commercial ratables are certainly much needed. So I've read the RFP, it's certainly, I think our township is a very good match for all the things that they're looking for. So good luck to West Windsor, and Mayor, just keep us in the loop as to the developments, and the specifics as you go along. I attended the Central Jersey Transportation Forum on September 7th, along with Ms. Miller, and we heard presentations on the redevelopment of the New Brunswick Cultural Center and Arts District, the Trenton 250 Master Plan, and a short presentation from our Township Engineer, Francis Guzik, on the Howard Hughes Concept Plan. So it's always good to get out there and hear what other towns and cities are doing. The food truck event yesterday was sponsored by the Parking Authority in the Vaughan Lot. It was a big success. A lot of people were out there. It's just one more opportunity for community members to kind of come together, see each other, and have some fun. Ms. Manzari and I did talk with the Parking Authority Chair, Andy Lupo, and we did say that we would ask the administration, whatever you can do to push downstairs, getting that final approval for the path.
I think that's the priority. As I say,
Yes.
the electricity wasn't done. Once it's done, they call inspector. The inspector will be there to certify.
I know. It's been done, it's been done for weeks, so I'm not going to get into
I'm aware of
all
it.
that.
I'll look into it, and It'll be taken
Right.
care
And I
of.
also suggested down the road that the parking authority consider some security cameras, because sometimes people come back, it's very late, it's dark, and it's very nice, these big, black, beautiful lamps. The lighting is there, but you are cutting through woods, so I did say maybe in the future that's something to consider, but it's quite nice, so if you're down there, maybe you get to see it or use it someday. I know there's a few residents that are here, and I don't know whether they want to speak during public comment or passed over them, they didn't realize, but there was an incident at a house, someone who owns a house in town rented and put on the market, I guess, an Airbnb, and somebody came in and they paid some money and had a huge party. And it turned out 250 people showed up to this party, and that created, a massive problem. Police had to get mutual aid from Hamilton, East Windsor, and Robbinsville police departments. I mean, it all ended peacefully, thank goodness. But, this kind of thing where you can just rent out your house for a day, and then people come in, and they just abuse the whole situation. So, I think we've
Linda,
gotten...
excuse me, we are going to return to that
Right.
subject
Okay,
under
good.
new business.
New business, okay, I just want our residents, some of
Yes,
them are
I
here,
know
they
they're
may want to
here,
say
and-
something, I just want to let them know if
Yeah, I
if
just
they
wanted
want
you
to,
to
they
be
can.
reassured that we're not
Yes.
putting this off. We're going to talk about it during new business.
Right, and I think something needs to be done about this, just to be clear. And that's it for now.
Okay, Himant or Jyotika, you're next.
I just wanted to reiterate that I think the Food Truck Fest is a great community event that brings people together. I was different from the other council members in that I couldn't go because I got sick, but I heard that, I went last year, my family and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I heard that this year it was much larger than it was last year, and I was sad to miss it. And I'm looking forward to enjoying it next year.
Again, the food truck festival, I missed it too. I had other commitment outside of town, but it also helped the West Windsor Arts Council, so that was a win-win for both of them, and we can, as other people said, we should do it more. And again, some people are here for a problem that happened over the weekend. New technologies create new problems. Airbnb didn't exist 15 years ago. So we didn't have a problem. I was surprised to see so many people can fit in such a small street. So just wanted to thank Hamilton, Robbinsville and East Windsor Police for helping out. And thankfully it ended without any problem. Like everyone else, Amazon, everybody's excited about it. I'll be very happy if they come here, but this is an opportunity to figure out, to attract to set up a structure to attract other businesses as well. Not just look at Amazon, but look at a bigger picture and make a bigger effort to set up a structure that if Amazon works, great, but even if Amazon works or doesn't work, to get other businesses to move into West Windsor. We have a lot of things to offer. And you were asking about suggestion for the traffic light on 571. I travel there every day. And that white line, the solid white line, it doesn't even reach up to Hendrickson. So people can legally go into the left turn lane all the way up to Hendrickson. So if you want to stop that, you have to make that white line all the way back past where Allison lives, because otherwise it's legal. I mean, you can't ticket somebody going up to there and then merging at Hendrickson, and that's going to create a problem.
I'll let the
Yeah,
engineer know, and I'm sure he'll be in touch with the Mercer County engineer.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As Linda said, I was also at the Central Jersey Transportation Forum, which is a regional forum, tries to get the area working together. They are very concerned, naturally, about development on the Howard Hughes property because it would affect so many of our neighbors. And they needed reassurance that West Windsor would handle this with all of our neighbors in mind, which we provided them. I was also at the inception of the bicycle and pedestrian safety campaign, and it was absolutely amazing to see a crowd of people on the sidewalk, half of them uniformed police officers, a bunch of cars right off the street in the driveway to the shopping center, all of them marked police cars, and yet zooming past a pedestrian with only feet to spare, and off go the police cars, sirens blaring, and what happens? Another car goes right through. You know, when you're commuting, you really should pay attention to your surroundings. It would be a good idea. Another thing about this is we really need better education regarding traffic laws that impact pedestrians. And there was a survey done by Greater Mercer County Transportation Management Association, and here are some of the results. There's confusion regarding crosswalks. People answered a survey, hundreds of people, and 54.5% incorrectly thought that pedestrians should cross only at a marked crosswalk. Pedestrians can cross anywhere. It's just, if you cross in between, you're putting your life at risk. It's not illegal, but it can often be stupid. There's confusion about where to bicycle. It is legal to bicycle on a sidewalk. It is legal for bicyclists to bike in the travel lane next to a bike lane. But it's rude if there's a lot of traffic, and it's pretty stupid too. There's confusion regarding the legal place for pedestrians if there is a sidewalk. If there's a sidewalk, pedestrians are supposed to use it. We see runners and even walkers in the street. That's illegal. They're supposed to be on the sidewalk. So we have to educate ourselves about the correct procedure. And I'm so glad that the police are looking at the stopped school bus rule, because I have seen that violated so many times where somebody figures, oh, the school bus is facing the other way from me, I don't have to stop. But many children have to cross the road, and I know there have been accidents in West Windsor regarding that. So I was also at the Food Truck Fest, and bigger and better than the last time, and I think it's wonderful that we use commuter parking lots for something other than commuter parking on weekends. As for the security cameras, back when I was on Parking Authority, not very long ago, we looked into having security cameras, and there's a question of the expense and whether they would just record footage to be looked at later, or whether there would be simultaneous surveillance. I think that when you have cameras that don't have to be hooked up electronically, they will install them, but the technology and the price isn't yet congruent enough. So it's not that they're not thinking of it, it's not that they haven't studied it.
Because it's
Alison,
worse,
sorry to contradict you, but two cameras are going up. They are in the works.
They are, so since I have left, they have found that they can put it up. But of course, we're not going to tell anybody where they are, just so they'll assume they're everywhere, because you should always behave safely in the parking lots. So, and as I said when Linda was speaking, we will be talking about the Airbnb issue under new business. So what we now have is a public hearing. Marlena?
Okay, before I read the ordinance, the township did receive a copy of the shared services agreement from Mercer County. That agreement was approved by resolution. So this ordinance is related to the shared services agreement between Mercer County and the Township of West Windsor. The ordinance is 2017-28. An ordinance authorizing the acquisition of certain real property known as Block 25, Lot 22, as referenced on the West Windsor Township tax map, and consisting of approximately 0.188 acres located at 1716 Old Trenton Road, and execution of a purchase agreement with Susan Baranato regarding same individually and as executrix of the estate of Isaac Newton Mount.
So, this is a continuation of the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak? Seeing no one, do I have a motion
I'll
to
make a
close
motion
the
to
public
close the
hearing?
public hearing.
Second.
Gay, could you call the roll?
Barbary?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Marate? Miller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to adopt.
I will, since the issue has been resolved, I'll move to adopt.
Second.
Barbary?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Marate?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you again.
Consent agenda.
Resolutions 2017 R227 authorizing the appointment of Kathleen Girandola to fill the unexpired term of member on the Shade Tree Commission to December 31st, 2017, 2017 R228, authorizing the request by Thomas R. Davy for a 100% disabled veteran exemption, allowing the tax collector to refund the amount of $6,369.01 and to cancel all subsequent property taxes per state statute 54:4-3.30. 2017 R229, refund of overpaid sewer rent. 2017 R230, refund of overpaid property taxes. Minutes from the July 31st, minutes from the July 31st, 2017 closed session as amended. And
Bills and
The
claims.
resolution we added,
No, that was at the end.
I thought it was on the consent agenda.
Yeah, I thought it was
That's where
consent
you
agenda.
added it, to the consent
Consent,
agenda.
yeah.
so it's resolution
2017 R240, with the Township Council supporting the mayor in his endeavors to pursue the opportunity with Amazon for West Windsor Township.
And I believe there are bills and claims.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Well,
Okay,
I have a reason for wanting to vote on the new resolution R240 separately, so I'd like to vote on that separately.
Okay, so let me move R 227, 228, 229, 230 minutes and bills and claims.
Bari?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Marate?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Did that include the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just,
Yes.
So
So do we
I-
have a motion?
I will move 2017 R 240.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Thank you. Could we have roll call?
Okay. Bari?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Marate?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Now, I'd like to do something a little unusual. Since we want to show that the Township Council is truly in favor of this and is going to continue to be truly in favor of this, I would like to ask the 3 candidates for Township Council who are not currently on Township Council, but who may be on Township Council when this issue comes up again, Ms. Epstein, Ms. Manzari, and Mr. Zhang, who are all here, to come up to the microphone and just say your name and vote yes. So we will have not only the present council, but all
It's not
possible...
appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate to ask anyone to come up here and kind of put them on the spot during an election.
Oh, come on,
to do
they've
that.
already said
I don't think
they're
it's
in favor.
appropriate. They did already say that, but it's...
Well, I would like to have it as part of the record for this.
And
I don't think
I
it's-
will
that-
mention
that's-
this
you know,
in my
we're in election.
official...
Yeah, I think it is on the record that all 3 are for it.
Well, I didn't know that they would all 3 say it, but I just would like to hear yes, yes, yes. I mean, we're being nonpartisan here, they're all 3 of them. Can you just say...
I think it's out of order. I think
Just say
it's-
yes, and that's all you need to do.
Just say they support.
We're not supposed to be
Mike.
using...
You don't know what you're saying yes for.
Mr. Herbert?
Well, that's, I read...
It's not,
Yes.
you tell me it's not
She
appropriate.
just slipped something on the agenda. You say yes, we are waiting for you to say yes.
We...
We'll find out tomorrow what the yes is for.
No, they know what it is
This is
because
the
I read out the whole resolution. That's why I read it, so that they could say yes. I see,
But they really were supportive.
Yes, they
They
were.
were very eloquent in their comments in favor.
I-
Maybe we leave it there.
I think we should leave.
In the
I don't
package,
wanna
I
put
will
candidates on
mention
the
that
spot.
all of the candidates for councils, they're all in supportive of...
well,
This
I wanted
position.
to make sure that that's part of the record. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and thank all 3 of you. So recommendations from administration and council clerk.
2017 R231, authorizing the refund of the municipal portion of property taxes billed for 2017 to PSE&G via credit in the 4th quarter of 2017. The credit is $5,851.44. 2017 R232, authorizing an increase in the original contract amount for Aurora and Associates PC by $1,240 for a total not to exceed of $1,715. 2017 R233, authorizing an increase of the original contract amount for ACT Engineers by $5,000 for a total not to exceed of $13,585. 2017 R234, authorizing an increase of the original contract amount for Van Cleef Engineering Associates by $2,500 for a total not to exceed of $4,475. 2017 R235, authorizing the full release of inspection fees for 99 Clarksville LLC for the project known as Windsor Athletic Center. 2017-R236, authorizing the township to donate surplus above-ground fuel storage tank formerly located at the Wallace Road Garage to the West Windsor Plainsboro Regional School District as permitted by NJSA 40A11-36, Section 2. 2017 R237, authorizing the rejection of bids for the project known as installation of an automatic fire sprinkler system located at the West Windsor Fire and Emergency Services Station 45, and authorizing the rebid of said project. 2017 R238, authorizing the award of a contract with Advanced Control Systems for an emergency generator for the South Post Road Pump Station. The amount of the contract award is $82,060. 2017 R239, authorizing the award of a contract with Municipal Maintenance Company for the replacement of interior piping at the Duck Pond Run Pump Station. The amount of that contract award is $85,657.
All right, anybody want to pull anything? Hearing no one?
Okay, I'll move R 2017 R231 through 2017 R239.
Second.
Bavri?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton? Yeah. Marate?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
All are approved.
Okay. We now have additional public comment.
Hi, Virginia Manzari, 28 Berkshire Drive. I just wanted to speak about the traffic that you were talking about coming through Sherbrooke Estates. That's where I live. It is indeed a lot more traffic than we usually get. I have to commend the police department because we have had a great presence there. Please ask them to keep that up. My neighbor likes to call our neighborhood Newark Airport now because every 3 seconds you see another car as if it were a plane coming in for a landing, coming up over the hill, and they're always speeding. And we have seen the police pull a number of people over and ticket them, which is fantastic.
And a
So
number
thank
of
you.
them are West Windsor residents.
Well,
I won't be bashful.
right. So I do appreciate their presence there. As far as the pedestrian safety goes, I was just mentioning to Jerry Foster the other day at the Food Truck Festival, we were talking about that intersection, Sherbrooke over to where the Bagel Hole is. My daughter used to work at the Bagel Hole, and you really take your life in your own hands crossing that street there, and that crosswalk light is terrible. You can't see it until you're right up on it, and I know they've tried to fix it a few times. It still not great. I go over there a lot, and I've seen cars just fly through with kids just sort of standing there waiting at that intersection. So hopefully they're continuing to look at figuring out a better way to have just sort of a bigger, bolder light flashing to get people's attention. I know sometimes the sun gets in your eyes and you can't see it when you're driving up, but it's still pretty dangerous. And the last thing that I wanted to ask about was, I've heard a couple of neighbors, specifically some of my neighbors in my neighborhood, who are older folks who would love to go to the senior center, but they can't get transportation there. Particularly, one neighbor in particular, they've lived in West Windsor for 58 years, and they have been told that there's no more room on the transportation to the senior center, so they can't get a ride over there. So they had asked me, how do we get on that list? How do we get get a ride?
You
So
give me their name and number?
absolutely.
I will handle it.
Thank you so much, Marlene. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council reports. We started there, we'll start here.
No reports.
Zoning board didn't meet, but I did go to the parking authority meeting, and they're still working on agreement with the township regarding self-ticketing. I spoke with Marlena, and the township is also working very hard to come up with a proposal. So there's a hope that we will meet somewhere in the middle and get that issue resolved.
Environmental Commission meeting was cancelled, so there's no update.
Yeah, at the last school board meeting, they approved the dual language immersion pilot program for certain kindergarten classrooms starting in 2018. The Board of Recreation and Parks Commissioners met on September 6th. Next year, they may do a 3-week kindergarten readiness program to help the young students get ready for kindergarten. So that's good. There was some discussion on pool fees. Ken Jacobs will review the price of season and day passes. The bonds will be paid off at the end of 2018 for the whole pool construction. So time has gone by pretty quickly. Fees would probably go down in 2019 because of that, but the discussion will continue, and we'll see if there's any recommendation to council to change the fees. Striping on the new pickleball court at Community Park will be done shortly.
Good. The Affordable Housing Committee met, and as I said earlier, discussed a lot of issues having to do with development, including the need for houses for purchase not being walk-ups if you're a senior citizen. So the next thing would be new business and discussion of the issue that Linda brought up and that is Airbnb and the problem that we faced. Now, Mike, on hearing of this, was kind enough to send us an ordinance that Plainsboro is considering. And Mike...
It was passed by Plainsboro.
It was passed by Plainsboro already. So then, if you could talk to us about why Plainsboro did it and whether you could recommend something like it to West Windsor, what would be the advantages?
Sure. Plainsboro had some issues about 6 months ago or so with some Airbnb properties. Specifically, a house was being rented where the rooms were being rented to people and causing some traffic and some issues in a certain neighborhood. So so working with the township, we put together an ordinance that banned Airbnbs in residential areas, and the ordinance is on the books. We haven't had any issues since it's been on the books as far as Airbnbs go, but it is now not legal in certain residential areas in Plainsboro. I note from just looking at the Airbnb application, I just downloaded it onto my phone, that I think there are about 30-some properties here in West Windsor that are currently advertising on Airbnb.
What do you mean by certain residential area? How do you distinguish between certain and all?
It's a land use ordinance, but it's under the Housing Enforcement Code. Plainsboro is structured a little bit differently than West Windsor. West Windsor, we would have to probably redo the ordinance so that, it could be used as a police power here, so that the police officers would be able to enforce. We don't have a housing code officer here. I mean, not a housing code, but I mean an enforcement officer here, as we do in Plainsboro. So you would have to be able to enable the police force to enforce. So if you had a call like the call we talked about the other day, where a house was being used for whatever it was being used for that crowd of people, that the police would then have the ability to fine the owners of that house for violating the ordinance.
And the state has no regulations?
There is legislation out there. There was a bill that was passed to regulate Airbnbs and to allow the local municipalities to tax them, much like we would tax hotels, but our governor vetoed it.
But there was also heavy opposition from the shore towns.
Yeah.
Yes, and the governor's veto message did mention the shore towns, because this is something that's been traditional in shore towns for longer than Airbnb existed. But we don't have a shore here in West Windsor.
No, and the larger concern is these houses that are where single rooms are being rented, so you have a regular house that's being turned into a rooming home.
Excuse me.
And that was the main concern over in Plainsboro. But down in places like Asbury Park, where I just taught a course on this, they're very much for Airbnb. It works very well down there. It is regulated somewhat, and it brings in, brings money into the town. But for towns such as Plainsboro, and if you choose West Windsor, where it's not a resort town, it's just a residential town with businesses, a determination is made that Airbnb does not work in those towns.
So this complaint, the police complaint that Linda was referencing, is this the first sort of abuse of the Airbnb structure that we've seen in West Windsor?
I don't know of any others. There may have been something I don't know of.
And it sounded egregious.
In speaking to the chief, I don't believe there have been any other issues as of yet, but again, Airbnb is new on the scene. This is the first real big, I guess, abuse of this new technology.
And so let's talk a little bit about the enforcement part of it. So it's basically a neighbor calling the cops and saying,
Correct.
I think my neighbor is
In
using Airbnb?
Right. In Plainsboro, it would be somebody calling the township, and the enforcement officer would come out there. Or also the enforcement officer could just be looking around at other housing issues and comes across something that looks like it, goes on the Airbnb app, you can just, as the enforcement officer, you just go on the Airbnb app and look it up. I mean, as I said, I just found 30 properties right here in West Windsor on this.
So I'm wondering, different ways to skin a cat, right?
Correct. But here in West Windsor, we do it through the police.
Horrible expression.
I'm sorry?
I have 2 cats. I'd skin them in a heartbeat. But
But
this
we
one,
have to be through the police really on a complaint by a neighbor.
right, so here's what I'm wondering, right? So this party, which sounded insane, the police had authority to address that issue anyway, right?
They did.
So does us legislating to preclude other West Windsor residents from engaging in what might be a business opportunity? I know that I was part of a lot of the legislative discussions at the state level,
Sure.
right? And, some of the concerns were some of these people that are using Airbnb need this because...
You hear many stories of like a single mom who
Right.
is able to supplement her income using it as a rooming house.
Right, so I'm a little
so
bit
forth.
concerned about, yes, this was an absolute abuse of that power, right? But our police had the ability to address it.
And they did,
And they did
shut it down.
effectively, very effectively, and I was very happy to hear that our neighboring towns also helped.
Yes, it was quite the event.
Aisha, in that regard, if there was no noise complaint, was there a violation of anything else? If they were all quiet?
They were given warnings, but nothing further. There was no.
No, but if they were all quiet, could the police have still, because 250 cars on a street is still a huge, I mean, it's a small street. I saw that, right? So that itself is danger. Is there any ordinance that says how many cars can,
And
just
are
out
you-
of curiosity?
Well, and that's a good question, right? So that's what I'm trying to get at, is are there other ordinances that would protect in this situation rather than us jumping out? So,
I
for
don't-
instance, is there
I
a
haven't
permit
Yeah, I haven't
required?
surveyed our ordinance book for this specific issue, but I don't know of any other ordinances that you really could use.
I mean, so is there, and again,
And again, we have
I
the-
don't know the book like Mr. Church does.
Right, we have the Fair Housing Act as well, which is, both, there's a state and federal Fair Housing Act, so you have to be careful
Right.
about any of those types of regulations.
Right, and I just want to, so is there an overcrowding issue, right? Or is there do you require a permit to have that many cars on the street?
No, I
And
think
if you
the
throw a
only,
party,
the
I don't
only
know.
areas that you, and if Mr. Yates was here, he'd probably be able to assist better, but
Certainly a fire code issue.
Fire code issue, I think, would be the main issue that you could look at.
And so maybe I'm wondering if we need to look at some of those other angles. This may not be a bad proposal, but I'm not sure that we've investigated enough.
See, at least we can have them register with the police or register with the township, so at least we know which houses are renting and
Yeah, I
which
think that's
houses are...
good.
I think that's a
yeah.
good idea. I mean, this discussion seems as if we should agendize this for discussion, because obviously there are many different ways of addressing the problem, but it was a problem once, and it certainly could be a problem again, and we want to make sure that Airbnb rentals are not noticed by the neighbors and not noticed by the neighborhood.
Yeah, but there's also the issue besides the parties, and that's the obvious thing that happens, but these are residential neighborhoods, there are children there, you don't know who's coming in,
Right.
okay? You don't know who you're getting, because, you buy a house, you
Right.
expect
And
you're
you
going to live
also- you
there, and
also-
someone's going to need to rent a house, it'll be, let's say, for a year, something like that, and not turn this into a transient type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I personally don't like that. I mean,
Well,
you don't know who's coming in and out of
And
there.
just to correct the record also, you'd also be looking at health code violations with regard to septic. If a house was on septic, that's another issue. Somebody just reminded me of that. But, I mean, you have to weigh, Airbnb can be positive and it can be negative. There are different areas you have to look at. Also, would you want to look at, whether it be rental regulations, would you want to regulate short-term rentals, longer-term rentals. West Windsor is in a prime area, which is why Amazon should come here, for people to do some short-term rentals, because maybe they're over there at the Princeton University, maybe they're looking to stay someplace close to the train station and so forth. West Windsor has so many good things going on here that, it is a valuable place for people to rent either rooms or
Yes,
homes.
but there are
That's
many
why
types
we
of
have all
hotels,
these-
even at Bear Brook, we're building
Sure.
short-term
Yeah,
stays.
that's why we have all these
That's what they're
new
for.
short-term rental
Correct.
corporate suites.
So what you have to look at is, do we want to just look at Airbnb, or do we want to look at everything as far as short-term rentals and so forth?
I think that rather than targeting just Airbnb, we'd be looking at short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know there are a lot of people who will rent their houses for a year or 2 years, and I don't think we want to preclude
No,
that.
as long as they're
It's
keeping
not
their houses
short-term,
up
yeah.
and they're not turning them into some type of a...
Right.
But there's a difference between, oh, I'm going to be in Europe for a year, I'm renting my house to another family,
Right.
and, well, I'm going to rent it to another family each week. I think that there are neighborhoods that would not
Yeah.
like that.
And
So-
then you have the houses where each room is being rented.
And
Yeah.
that is something that we really should control, because
'Cause
there's a
that's a
difference
rooming house,
between
yeah.
another family coming in and using your house as a rooming house, and that's, would that be a home business?
And the other thing that then occurs also is, the other problem we ran into in some other towns is, an Airbnb, somebody from Airbnb will rent out a home, the whole home, and then turn around and re-rent it for each room.
Well, that should be illegal. Is there some way we can control for
Sublet.
that?
Again, that's something we'd have to look at.
So Mike, the changes you were discussing for Plainsboro and I
It
I
just
don't know.
banned short-term rentals, yeah.
Well,
So the changes in West Windsor, are you talking about then a hotel tax component to it, or just banning it
can't yet.
outright?
Yeah, if the legislation
that is
does
the-
pass, it is something that we could do, but right now, we cannot tax it.
And that too, the state collects, God knows how much they give us.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever they give us, they give
But
us.
in Jersey City, for instance, Airbnb has worked with Jersey City on not only regulating how and what can be rented, but also working out a fee with them to pay back to the town. Because Jersey City is the type of city it is, it's allowed to do that under our current tax structure. West Windsor is not, but that's something you may want to keep an eye on with legislation
But
as well.
there's so many ways to
Skin the
deal
cat.
with this cat.
That's just a
that I
horrible,
think-
horrible image.
It is, it's terrible. So, but I think that, maybe Mike, if you can give us some more guidance on sort of the ways other people have handled it, just because it is new and, what did Peter used to call it, disruptive
I have
technology?
I have a
doesn't mean
memo
it's
on
bad.
all the various things that you can do, and I'll be glad to distribute it.
That's
Thank you.
exactly what we need, because we can't just pick one. We have to have a full discussion, and I'm very concerned about what I've just heard about people renting through Airbnb as a family, and then turning around and subletting also through Airbnb. So there's got to
Actually,
be-
what happened here, I believe, residents can confirm, is that somebody rented out the house, and then the people were coming in
Right.
and paying.
It's very difficult.
Like they were
to-
charging.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
I mean, we've had,
I mean,
I
that's
have had other
another
towns where
level
they
of
have a
having-
large house that is rented out, and it's turned actually into a dance club. And it becomes, and then you see all the advertisements go throughout the city and flyers, and everyone comes to this house where they have a dance club going on. And then
Well,
you
we
have
we
issues.
have to make sure that that's illegal.
Yeah.
And subletting is illegal, but I think that you obviously have thought this through, and there's a memo. Can you coordinate with me on when you can get this to us?
I'll get it out
so
to you
that-
tomorrow.
Have you modified it for West Windsor? Do you
It's
think you
just a
could-
general memo, but I can modify it
If
for West
you-
Windsor
if you
and
could
get it out
just-
to you towards the end of the week.
Yeah, if you could just look at our code and make recommendations. If you wanted to address this problem, here's how you do it in West Windsor, if you want, because I would like to have
I have a feeling this young man right here is going to be doing a little bit of research.
well, good.
Right.
Now, I really think that this is an important subject. I think we have 4 people. I know you didn't say anything under public comment, but if you would like to give me your emails or give the clerk some contact information so that I can make sure that you are informed when we hold that. It will be like a work session devoted to this subject. And I want you to be able to be there.
Could we give them an opportunity to speak now, since they've been waiting so patiently, if they would like to? You have to come to the microphone to state your name and address.
Dan Frascarelli, 7 Snowbird Court. I was just wondering if it's possible to get a copy of that memo. I'd love to take a look at it.
Okay, thank you. If you have your information to the clerk, we can make sure you're copied on it, because we want your participation as somebody who has experienced the problem when we put together the work session. I can't tell you it will be definitely at the next meeting, because there are other issues that we will have to deal with, but it should be soon. Okay. I think we're up to administration updates.
Almost done.
I wanted to confirm that most of the issues with the Hendrickson Drive Tennis Complex have been addressed.
Good.
Very few remain, and we, just so the council understands, that the township still owes money on that contract. We still have in excess of $44,000 left to pay the contractor after the payment that was approved on the bills list. And the serious concerns that Mr. Jenner listed a couple of weeks ago have been taken care of. Ken Jacobs actually walked the Hendrickson Drive Tennis Complex and looked at the pavement and the gaps that were noted between the court surface and the fence, and there are no longer gaps. The fence has been secured to the poles, and the gates at the back of the courts no longer have padlocks, which allow the players to retrieve the tennis balls. So I just wanted you to know that I would say a significant amount of what was referred to as punch list items have been cleared up.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. A lot of tennis players will appreciate that.
I'm sure they will.
Have any other issues that you want
I
to
do
bring?
want to make reference to, I would like the public to understand when there are motor vehicle accidents and a utility pole comes down, the police report the fact that a utility pole has been struck, and it's the utility company's responsibility. We have no control over the duration or the speed at which the utility comes to basically remove the wires, unless it's active electric wires, but in this instance, it was, I believe, Verizon's telephone wires. But our police department the officer notes the problem at the scene, dispatch is advised, they make the appropriate contact with the utility company, and basically it's the utility company's responsibility to take the measures necessary to basically take the lines that were taken out and restring them. what I have found with utility companies is they move at their own pace. They move at their own pace because their work is scheduled far out in advance, and unless it's an emergent situation and there's no service whatsoever, they will get to it when they get to it. And in this instance, the police department, Chief Garofalo put a lot of pressure on the specific utility company to address the concern of the residents. So I want to report that that issue has been addressed.
Thank you. Anything else? Well...
No, that's it.
We do have a reason to go into closed session. So if
Can we take a recess?
But
Yeah.
we will
So you
have...
want to read
We
that
will
first?
have a what? Do we want to...
Do you want to do the motion, and
Do
I
the
can read,
motion?
and you
Yeah.
guys can...
Then we'll take the break and...
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session. You want to read that?
Mike, the reason...
Second?
Second.
Second, Bobby? Okay.
Go into closed session
Yep.
to discuss...
I have several.
Litigation.
Yeah, it has. Okay.
Litigation and contracts?
I have, okay. Whereas NJSA 10412 allows for a public body to go in closed session during a public meeting, and whereas the Township Council of West Windsor Township has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public, and whereas the regular meeting of this Township Council will reconvene, and whereas the below subject stated matter shall be made available at such time as the issues discussed herein are resolved, and its disclosure would not subvert any particular exception for convening a closed session, now therefore be it resolved that the Township Council of the Township of West Windsor will go into closed session for the following reasons as outlined in NJSA 10:4-12 for the discussion of District 5, the Princeton Junction redevelopment plan amendment, contracts, possible acquisition of open space, and the extension of renewal option for the post office.